council chamber fell silent the moment Alpha King Damien Cross entered, his daughter cradled against his chest. At 3 years old, little Arya had never spoken a word, not mama, not dada, not even a cry when she'd first entered the world. The pack healers called it selective mutism. The elders whispered it was a curse from the moon goddess, punishment for Damien's refusal to take a chosen mate after his wife's death during childbirth. Damien had stopped listening to them all. He settled into the obsidian throne that had seated Alpha Kings for 12 generations, adjusting Arya so she could see the room. Her silver eyes, so like her mother's, scanned the gathered wolves with an intensity that unnerved even the oldest council members. She understood everything. He knew she did. The way she'd nod or shake her head when he asked questions. The way she'd tug his sleeve to guide him toward what she wanted. His daughter simply chose silence. Or perhaps silence had chosen her. "Your Majesty," Counselor Thorne began, his gray beard bristling with barely concealed disapproval. "We must discuss the Omega situation." Damien's jaw tightened. "Her name is Alara. The Omega," Thorne repeated deliberately, "has been here for 3 weeks. Protocol states that unmated wolves without pack affiliation must either accept a position within our ranks or move on. She's done neither." Through the tall windows Damien could see the western courtyard where Alara sat beneath the willow tree, the same spot she occupied every afternoon. She was reading, her honey-colored hair catching the late autumn sunlight, completely unaware that the most powerful wolves in the Northern Territories were discussing her fate. Or perhaps she knew, and simply didn't care. That thought stirred something in Damien's chest, something he'd thought died with his mate 3 years ago. Arya shifted in his arms, craning her neck toward the window. Her small hand pressed against his chest, and Damien felt her heart rate quicken, the only physiological response she ever gave to indicate interest. "The Omega presents a security risk," Counselor Maria added, her sharp features arranged in an expression of concern that didn't reach her eyes. "No pack identification, no background verification. For all we know, she could be a rogue spy." "She's not a spy," Damien said quietly, but with enough alpha command that several council members flinched. "She's a survivor." He'd seen the scars. Not the physical ones. Those she hid well beneath long sleeves and high collars. But the other kind. The kind that lived in the way she startled at loud noises, the way she positioned herself with her back to walls, the way she never quite met anyone's eyes. Someone had hurt her badly enough that she'd shed her pack bonds, and gone lone wolf, one of the most dangerous things an Omega could do. Most didn't survive it. Alara had not only survived, she'd walked straight through their territory borders 3 weeks ago during the new moon, and somehow, impossibly, none of the perimeter guards had caught her scent until she was standing in the palace gardens. When Damien had confronted her, she'd simply looked at him with those earth-brown eyes and said, "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need somewhere to rest." He should have sent her away. Every tactical instinct screamed that an Omega capable of slipping past his defenses was exactly the kind of threat Thorne described. Instead, he'd given her a cottage by the willow tree, and told the staff to leave her alone. Arya made a soft sound, not quite a whimper but close. Her fingers twisted in Damien's shirt, and when he looked down, he saw her staring at the window with an expression he'd never seen before. Intent, focused, almost yearning. "The child is distressed," Thorne observed, perhaps sensing the Omega's unnatural presence. The council chamber doors opened, and Beta Marcus strode in, his face grim. "Apologies, Your Majesty, but we have a situation. Rogue wolves spotted near the eastern border. At least 15, maybe more." The room erupted into controlled chaos. Rogues rarely traveled in packs that large, unless they were planning an assault. The Northern Territory hadn't seen an organized attack in over a decade. Damien stood, already calculating deployment strategies. "Counselor Thorne, alert the guard units. Maria, ensure the civilians are secured in the safe houses. Marcus, I want—" Arya's hand shot out, pointing toward the window. Damien paused. His daughter had never interrupted him before, never demanded attention during pack business. But now she was pointing insistently, her whole body trembling with an urgency that made his wolf pace anxiously beneath his skin. He followed her finger to the courtyard. Alara had stood up from beneath the willow tree. She was looking directly at the palace, at the council chamber window, as if she could see through stone and glass to where they stood. Her posture had changed, no longer the hunched defensive stance of a frightened Omega. She stood tall, alert, her head tilted as if listening to something only she could hear. Then she started running toward the eastern border. "What is she?" Marcus began. Arya's fingers dug into Damien's shoulder, and she opened her mouth. For 3 years the council chamber had heard many sounds, declarations of war, pronouncements of law, the solemn oaths of wolves, swearing fealty to their king. But never had it heard what filled the air in that crystalline moment. A single word, spoken in a voice small and clear, and absolutely certain. "Mommy." The word hung in the air like a spell, freezing every wolf in the chamber. Damien's heart stopped, then lurched back to life with painful force. His daughter, his silent precious daughter, had just spoken. And she'd called a stranger mommy. Impossible, Thorn breathed, but Damien barely heard him. Arya was struggling in his arms now, pushing against his chest with surprising strength for such a small child. Her silver eyes were locked on the courtyard where Alara had disappeared beyond the hedge line, racing toward whatever danger lurked at the eastern border. "Mommy?" Arya said again, louder this time, her voice cracking with desperation. "Mommy!" The sound of his daughter's voice, something he'd dreamed of for 3 years, should have filled Damien with joy. Instead, ice flooded his veins. Because Arya wasn't just speaking. She was afraid. "Marcus, with me," Damien commanded, already moving toward the door. "Thorn, lockdown protocol. Now." "Your Majesty, you can't possibly believe." "My daughter just spoke for the first time, and she's terrified," Damien snarled, his alpha power rippling through the room hard enough to make the chandeliers sway. "Either help or get out of my way." He shifted Arya to one arm as he ran through the palace corridors, Marcus keeping pace beside him. Behind them he heard the clash of boots as guards mobilized, but Damien's focus had narrowed to a single point, the Omega running headlong toward danger, and his daughter crying for her. They burst into the courtyard. Arya was screaming now, actual screams, raw and terrified, her small fists beating against Damien's shoulder as she reached toward the eastern path. "Mommy, mommy, no, mommy!" Each word was a knife in Damien's chest. Not because of jealousy or confusion, but because he could feel his daughter's genuine terror through their bond. Whatever connection existed between Arya and Alara, it was real enough that his child could sense the Omega was in danger. "There!" Marcus pointed. Through the line of oaks marking the border between the palace grounds and the forest, Damien saw movement. Alara had stopped at the tree line, her body rigid. Even from a distance he could see she was trembling. Then he caught the scent. Rogues, at least 20, closing in fast from the east. But there was something else, something that made his wolf snarl with recognition and rage, a scent he knew, one he'd driven from his territory 5 years ago. Cain Ashford. The exiled alpha who tried to challenge Damien's rule and lost. "It's an ambush," Marcus growled. "They drew her out." "No." Damien's eyes narrowed as he watched Alara. She wasn't running away from the rogues, she was positioning herself between them and the palace, between them and Arya. She knew they were coming. Alara's head turned, and across the distance, her eyes met Damien's. In that moment, he saw past the frightened Omega facade to something deeper, something that blazed with protective fury. She mouthed 2 words, "Protect her." Then she shifted. Damien had seen thousands of wolves shift in his lifetime. It was never elegant, the cracking of bones, the tearing of flesh, the painful rearrangement of the body from human to beast. But Alara's shift was different. It was fluid, graceful, like water taking a new shape. One moment she was human, the next a silver-white wolf with the same earth-brown eyes stood in her place. An alpha wolf. "Goddess above," Marcus whispered, "she's not an Omega." The first rogue broke through the tree line, a massive brown wolf with foam flecking its muzzle. Alara met it head-on, her jaws finding its throat with surgical precision. She didn't fight like a rogue, wild and desperate. She fought like a trained warrior, every movement purposeful and deadly. 3 more rogues emerged, then 5, then 10. They swarmed her from all sides, but Alara moved through them like a dancer, each strike calculated to disable, not kill. She was buying time. Buying time for Damien to get Arya to safety. Marcus, take her. Damien passed his still screaming daughter to his beta, though every instinct rebelled against letting her go. Get her to the safe room, full guard detail. Sir, you can't. That's an order! Arya's screams intensified as Marcus pulled her away. Daddy, no! Save Mommy! Please, Daddy, save Mommy! The words nearly broke him. But Damien was already shifting, his body exploding into the massive black wolf that had earned him the title Alpha King. His guards followed suit, a wave of loyal wolves pouring into the forest. But Damien's eyes were locked on the silver-white wolf fighting alone against impossible odds. She'd positioned herself on a small rise, forcing the rogues to come at her from a disadvantage. Smart. But she was tiring. He could see it in the way her movements had slowed, the way blood matted her fur from a dozen small wounds. Then Cain Ashford stepped from the shadows, still in human form, a cruel smile twisting his scarred face. Hello, little sister, he said, his voice carrying across the clearing. Did you really think you could hide from me forever? Sister. The word detonated in Damien's mind like a bomb, scattering everything he thought he knew about the frightened Omega who'd walked into his territory 3 weeks ago. Alara shifted back to human form, blood streaming from cuts across her arms and shoulders. When she spoke, her voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. I wasn't hiding, Cain. I was waiting. Damien's wolves formed a protective semicircle around Alara, but he raised his paw, a command to hold. Something about this confrontation felt personal, orchestrated. Cain hadn't brought 20 rogues just to kill one woman. This was a message. Waiting for what exactly? Cain circled Alara like a predator toying with wounded prey. For the great Alpha King to save you? How pathetic you've become, Alara, the sister who once commanded 3 packs, reduced to cowering behind another Alpha's strength. 3 packs. The words ricocheted through Damien's mind. Only one wolf in recent history had commanded 3 packs, and she'd disappeared 6 years ago, after her territory was destroyed in a coup. The Red Dawn Alpha. But that Alpha had been reported dead, her body never recovered. Alara didn't flinch at Cain's taunts. I'm not cowering, I told you. I was waiting for you to make your move. You've gotten predictable, brother. Predictable? Cain's laugh was sharp as broken glass. I've hunted you across 4 territories, destroyed every safe house, eliminated every ally who dared shelter you, and now I found your weakness. His eyes flicked toward the palace, toward where Arya's screams had faded into the distance. That child, you bonded with her, didn't you? I could smell it the moment we crossed the border. Damien's wolf snarled, the sound rumbling through the clearing like thunder. He shifted back to human form, his body coiled with barely restrained violence. You threaten my daughter, and I will scatter your bones across every territory from here to the coast. Your daughter? Cain's smile widened. That's rich. Tell me, Your Majesty, did you ever wonder why your guards didn't detect Alara when she crossed your borders? Why a supposed Omega could slip past defenses that have held for generations? Damien's silence was answer enough. She used a cloaking spell, Cain continued, his voice dripping with malicious pleasure. Blood magic, specifically. Very dark, very forbidden. The kind that requires a sacrifice. He turned back to Alara. What did you sacrifice, sister? What did you trade to the witch who gave you that spell? Alara's face had gone pale, but her voice remained steady. My ability to shift into my alpha form permanently. I can do it once more for 1 hour, and then I'll be truly Omega forever. She looked directly at Damien, and he saw the truth burning in her eyes. I came here because I saw your daughter in a vision. The witch showed me. She showed me a mute child who would die before her 4th birthday, unless someone intervened. The words hit Damien like a physical blow. What? The curse on Arya isn't mutism, Alara said, each word careful and deliberate. It's a death sentence. Someone placed a binding spell on her when she was born, designed to slowly drain her life force through her voice. As long as she stayed silent, she stayed alive. But the moment she spoke... No. Damien's denial was instinctive, desperate. But even as he said it, ice flooded his veins, because it made horrible sense. The way Arya had never cried, never made a sound. The way she'd grown weaker each year despite the healer's best efforts. The way his mate had died in childbirth when she'd been perfectly healthy throughout her pregnancy. Your mate discovered the spell, Alara continued, her voice soft with sympathy. That's why she died. She tried to break it, and the backlash killed her. But she bought Arya time. 3 years, maybe 4. I came here to finish what she started. Touching story, Cain interrupted. But irrelevant. The child spoke, which means the spell is activated. She has perhaps 48 hours before it consumes her completely. He gestured to his rogues. Unless, of course, Alara comes with me willingly. The witch who gave her the cloaking spell also gave her something else. The counter curse. The only thing that can save your daughter's life. Damien's world narrowed to a single point. His daughter was dying. This stranger, this mysterious alpha who'd hidden in his territory for 3 weeks, held the only cure. And her psychotic brother was using that knowledge to manipulate them all. I'll go with you, Alara said immediately. Just swear you won't hurt the child. No. Damien's alpha command rolled through the clearing with enough force to make several rogues whimper. You're not going anywhere with him. She has to, Cain said pleasantly. Or your daughter dies. Simple mathematics, Your Majesty. Alara met Damien's eyes, and in that moment, he saw everything she'd hidden beneath the frightened Omega disguise. Strength, determination, and something else. A bone-deep weariness that came from running for too long, fighting for too long, losing too much. I didn't come here to watch another child die, she said quietly. I've seen too much death already. Before Damien could respond, a new scent cut through the clearing. Marcus burst through the tree line in wolf form, shifting mid-stride. His face was ashen. Your Majesty, Arya's collapsed. The healers say her life force is fading. They give her 12 hours, maybe less. 12 hours, not 48. The spell was accelerating. Cain's smile was triumphant. I believe we have a deal, Your Majesty, my sister, for your daughter's life. You have 1 hour to decide. Damien didn't hesitate. He closed the distance between himself and Cain in 3 strides, his hand wrapping around the exile's throat before the rogues could react. His claws extended, pricking skin just enough to draw blood. You don't give me ultimatums on my territory, Damien snarled, his alpha power flooding the clearing with such intensity that several rogues dropped to their bellies in submission. You don't threaten my daughter, and you certainly don't walk away from here breathing. Cain smiled even as blood trickled down his neck. Kill me, and the counter curse dies with me. I'm the only one besides Alara who knows where the witch is hiding. You have 12 hours, Your Majesty. 10 by the time you reach your daughter. How many will you waste on pride? Damien's hand trembled with the effort of not crushing Cain's windpipe. Every instinct screamed to end this threat, to scatter Cain's rogues and reclaim his peace. But the image of Arya's pale face, her small body convulsing as the curse consumed her, froze him in place. Let him go! Alara's voice cut through his rage like a blade. Damien turned to find her standing tall despite her injuries, blood still streaming from the gashes across her shoulders. She'd shifted back to human form, and without the Omega disguise, he could see what she truly was. Scars crisscrossed her arms and torso, not the random marks of abuse but deliberate patterns. Ritual scars. The kind worn by alphas who'd commanded multiple packs. I'll go with him, she continued, her earth-brown eyes locked on Damien's. But I have conditions. Cain laughed, the sound wet around Damien's grip. You're in no position. Shut up. Ilara's command carried surprising force for someone who'd pretended to be Omega for weeks. You want me alive, Cain, or you wouldn't have gone through this elaborate charade. The witch gave you instructions, didn't she? The counter curse requires my blood willingly given. Kill me or take me by force, and it won't work. The flash of fury in Cain's eyes confirmed her words. So here are my terms, Alara said, turning back to Damien. You have 6 hours to prepare. Gather your best warriors, track us, and when you come, because I know you will, make sure you bring Arya with you. Absolutely not, Damien growled. I'm not bringing my dying daughter into a war zone. The counter curse has to be administered in person. The witch won't leave her sanctuary, and even if she did, the spell requires Arya to be present. It's not just about breaking the curse, it's about establishing a new bond. Alara's voice softened. Your mate started the work, I can finish it, but Arya has to be there. Marcus stepped forward, his beta instincts clearly warring with his loyalty. Your Majesty, this could be a trap. Everything about this screams manipulation. It is a trap, Alara agreed calmly. But it's also your daughter's only chance. The witch who created the death curse is the same one who can break it. Cain's been working with her for 6 years, ever since he destroyed my packs and forced me into exile. He wants me returned to her, because she needs my alpha essence for some ritual. I don't know what, and honestly I don't care. Her eyes met Damien's, and he saw the truth burning there. I care about that little girl who called me mommy. The word hung between them, heavy with implications Damien couldn't begin to unpack. His daughter had spoken for the first time to claim this stranger as her mother. Not just any stranger, a fallen alpha with a psychotic brother and connections to dark magic. And yet, when Arya's scream had echoed through the palace, it had been Alara's name she'd cried. Somehow, impossibly, a bond had formed between them. Why? Damien demanded, finally releasing Cain, who stumbled back coughing. Why did you bond with her? Why risk everything for a child you've never even spoken to? Alara was quiet for a long moment, her gaze distant. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of old grief. Because 6 years ago, I had a daughter. She was 4 years old, with silver eyes exactly like Arya's. Cain killed her when he overthrew my packs. Her hands clenched into fists. He made me watch while the witch drained her life force to fuel a power ritual. I couldn't save her. I couldn't even scream. The clearing fell silent except for the whisper of wind through the trees. When the witch showed me Arya in her vision, Alara continued. When she told me about the curse and how it mirrored what had been done to my daughter, I knew it was a trap. I knew Cain was using the information to lure me out of hiding, but I couldn't. Her voice cracked. I couldn't let another child die the same way. Not when I had the power to stop it. Damien studied her face, searching for deception, and finding only raw honesty. The counter curse. You really have it? I stole it from the witch before I escaped 6 years ago. It's encoded in a blood ritual. My blood, specifically, mixed with moon water and spoken over by an alpha who commands the child's loyalty. She looked at him steadily. That's you. You're Arya's alpha, her father, her king. Only your voice can activate the cure. Then give me the ritual words now, Damien said. We can perform it at the palace. It doesn't work like that. The curse is anchored to the witch's sanctuary. Break it anywhere else, and it will just reform, stronger than before. We have to go to her. Alara's expression hardened, which is exactly what Cain wants. He knows I won't let Arya die, and he knows you won't let me sacrifice myself alone. So he gets both of us delivered right to the witch's doorstep. Then we kill the witch, Marcus said flatly. Break her sanctuary, end the threat permanently. Cain had recovered enough to laugh at that. You can't kill her. She's protected by blood wards older than your entire pack line. Even your legendary Alpha King would burn to ash before crossing her threshold uninvited. He straightened his collar, his smile returning. No, the only way this ends is with Alara giving herself willingly, the child being cured, and everyone walking away with what they want. Except Alara, Damien said coldly. Except Alara, Cain agreed. But then, she stopped mattering the moment she failed to protect her packs, didn't she? He turned to his rogues. 6 hours, Your Majesty. We'll be waiting at the old silver mines on the northern border. Come alone with Alara and the child, or come with your entire army. It makes no difference. The witch will get what she wants either way. He shifted smoothly to wolf form and disappeared into the forest, his rogues flowing after him like shadows. Damien watched them go, his mind racing through strategies and discarding each one as quickly as it formed. Every tactical advantage was compromised by Arya's ticking clock. Every aggressive move was countered by the need to keep Alara alive and cooperative. He turned to find her swaying on her feet, blood loss finally catching up to her. He caught her before she fell, and the moment his skin touched hers, something electric passed between them. Recognition. The kind that went bone deep and defied logic. His wolf stirred, interested for the first time since his mate's death. No, that was impossible. You couldn't have two mates. The moon goddess didn't work that way. I can save her, Alara whispered, her eyes already closing. I swear it on my daughter's memory. Just trust me, trust. The one thing Damien couldn't afford to give. And yet, as he lifted Alara in his arms, and carried her back toward the palace where his daughter lay dying, he realized he had no choice. Arya had called this broken alpha mommy. And in 12 hours he would discover why. Alara moved to his side without being asked, her hand resting on Arya's back. They looked like a family. And in 2 hours they would either become one, or die trying. The old silver mines had been abandoned for 50 years, but as Damien's convoy approached, he could feel the unnatural energy pulsing from within. Witch magic, thick and poisonous, coating the air like oil on water. Arya had grown weaker during the journey. She'd woken only once, long enough to whisper mommy and reach for Alara before slipping back into unconsciousness. Her breathing was shallow, her heartbeat irregular. They had perhaps an hour left, maybe less. The wards are stronger than expected, Marcus muttered, studying the shimmering barrier that surrounded the mine entrance. I count at least 7 layers. We breach those, and the witch will know immediately. She already knows, Alara said quietly. She stood at Damien's side, her hand resting on Arya's forehead. She's been watching since we left the palace. Blood magic doesn't just create curses, it creates connections. She's tied to Arya through the death spell. Damien felt his wolf snarl with impotent rage. Every instinct screamed to tear through those wards, to rip apart anyone who threatened his daughter. But brute force wouldn't work here. Magic required magic. Or it required faith. The Luna bond, he said, turning to Alara. You said it could break witch wards. How? Alara met his eyes and he saw fear there, not of death, but of vulnerability. A completed Luna bond between 2 alphas creates a resonance that disrupts blood magic. The witch can't hold power over something protected by the moon goddess herself. But to complete it, she swallowed hard. We'd have to claim each other, here, now, in front of everyone. The claiming ritual was sacred, intimate. It involved a bite at the junction of neck and shoulder, a merging of souls that couldn't be undone. Most wolves did it in private, away from witnesses, doing it in the middle of a battlefield, surrounded by 50 warriors and untold enemies, went against every tradition. But traditions didn't save dying children. Do it, Damien said. Your Majesty? Marcus started, but Damien silenced him with a look. My daughter is dying. This woman is my second chance mate, chosen by the moon goddess to help me save her. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave now. His alpha command rolled through the assembled warriors, and to their credit not one moved. The rest of you, form a perimeter. When these wards fall, Cain's rogues will attack. Hold them off long enough for us to reach the witch. The warriors moved into position with practiced efficiency. Damien carefully laid Arya on a bed of moss beside a fallen tree, positioning her where both he and Alara could see her. Then he turned to face the woman who would become his Luna. Alara was trembling. I haven't done this since my first mate. I don't know if I can. You can. Damien cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. I've lost one mate already. I know the fear. But Arya needs us whole, not broken. And I think I need you too. It was the most honest thing he'd said in 3 years. Alara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I watched my daughter die because I wasn't strong enough to save her. If I fail Arya too. You won't. Damien pulled her closer, their foreheads touching. We won't. Not together. The Luna marks on their collarbones began to glow, responding to their proximity and intent. Damien could feel the incomplete bond thrumming between them, waiting to be sealed. It felt like coming home after a long exile. It felt like hope. On 3? Alara whispered. On 3? They shifted simultaneously, their human forms melting into wolf. Damien's massive black wolf faced Alara's silver white one, both of them moving with the choreography of instinct. The claiming had to be mutual, simultaneous, a perfect joining. 1. They circled each other, wolves assessing, accepting. 2. They moved closer, breaths mingling, hearts beating in sync. 3. They struck together, fangs finding the claiming spot on each other's necks. Pain and pleasure exploded through Damien in equal measure, as Alara's essence flooded into him. He felt her grief, her strength, her desperate hope. He felt the weight of 3 packs lost, and 1 daughter dead, and 6 years spent running. He felt her love for Arya, inexplicable but absolute, the kind of love that transcended logic and demanded sacrifice. And she felt him, his loneliness, his fear, his crushing responsibility to an entire territory when all he wanted was to be a good father to 1 small girl. His guilt over his first mate's death, and his terror that he would fail again. The Luna bond snapped into place like a lock turning, and power detonated outward from their joined forms. The witch wards shattered, they shifted back to human, both gasping from the intensity of the completed bond. Damien could feel Alara now, as if she were part of his own body, her heartbeat, her thoughts, her strength flowing into him, and his flowing into her. It's done, Alara breathed, wonder in her voice. Then Cain's howl split the night, and all hell broke loose. Rogues poured from the forest, at least 30 of them, far more than the original 20. They'd been reinforced. Damien's warriors met them head-on, the clearing erupting into a chaos of snarls and snapping jaws. But Damien and Alara moved as one, flowing past the battle toward the mine entrance. With the wards down, nothing stopped them from plunging into darkness. Damien scooped Arya into his arms while Alara covered their backs, her newly empowered alpha presence making even the boldest rogues hesitate. The mine tunnels were a maze, but the curse acted as a beacon. Damien could feel it pulling at Arya's life force, drawing them deeper into the earth. They ran through passages carved a century ago, their wolf vision piercing the darkness. Finally, they emerged into a vast chamber lit by hundreds of candles. At its center stood a woman who looked ancient and young simultaneously, her eyes completely black. The witch. And beside her, Cain smiled. Right on time, he said. The ritual requires the child's parents to deliver her willingly. I wasn't sure the Luna bond would work, but I'm delighted to see it did. Makes everything so much cleaner. Damien's blood turned to ice. You wanted us to complete the bond? Of course, the witch can't break her own curse. There are rules, even in blood magic. But a Luna-bonded pair? They can break anything, including the curse keeping my dear sister's alpha essence locked away. Cain's smile widened. See, the spell I placed on Alara 6 years ago didn't just hide her from me. It bound her power, made her truly Omega. The only way to unlock it is through a completed Luna bond followed by a specific blood ritual, one that requires a dying child as the catalyst. Understanding crashed over Damien like a wave. Arya was never the target. She was the key to unlocking the most powerful alpha essence in the Northern Territories, Cain confirmed. Which the witch will then transfer to me, making me unstoppable. The witch stepped forward, her voice like grinding stones. Lay the child on the altar, save her life, and damn your mate. Or let her die and preserve your precious bond. Her black eyes gleamed. Choose. Damien looked down at Arya's pale face, then at Alara, feeling the Luna bond thrumming between them. Through their connection, he felt her resignation, her willingness to sacrifice everything for his daughter. just as she'd been willing to sacrifice everything for her own daughter 6 years ago. "No," he said quietly. The witch's black eyes narrowed. "You refuse to save your child? I refuse your false choice." Damien carefully set Arya down, positioning her behind him. Then he turned to face the witch fully, his alpha power rolling off him in waves. "You said a Luna-bonded pair can break anything. That includes your ritual," Cain laughed. "The hubris of Alpha Kings. You have no idea what you're facing. The witch has been perfecting blood magic for 3 centuries. Your little mate bond is nothing compared to— It's everything," Alara interrupted, stepping forward to stand beside Damien. Through their bond he felt her understanding crystallizing, pieces falling into place. "That's why you needed us bonded first, not to make the ritual stronger, to make it possible at all. The curse on Arya was designed to resist breaking by anyone except her parents, her true parents, bonded by the moon goddess." The witch's expression didn't change, but Damien caught the slight tension in her shoulders. "Confirmation. My first mate started breaking the curse," Damien continued, the realization hitting him like lightning. "She died before completing it because she was trying to do it alone, but the moon goddess knew. She arranged for Alara to survive, to find us, to complete what my first mate started." He reached out, taking Alara's hand. Power surged through their joined palms, the Luna bond amplifying until the chamber itself seemed to vibrate. "You didn't trap us, we were meant to be here, together." Cain's smile faltered. "It doesn't matter, you're still surrounded, outnumbered, and even if you break the curse, the witch will just kill you all. She's survived 3 centuries by being thorough." "Has she survived a completed Luna bond between 2 alphas?" Alara asked softly. "Because I've been researching for 6 years, there are only 3 recorded instances in wolf history. Each time, the bonded pair became unstoppable. They toppled kingdoms. They rewrote territorial boundaries. She looked directly at the witch. "They killed witches who threatened their packs." The chamber fell silent. "The counter-curse I stole from you 6 years ago," Alara continued, her voice growing stronger. "I've had plenty of time to study it, to understand it. It's not just a cure, it's a reversal. It takes the death curse and transforms it into a life blessing. Instead of draining Arya's alpha essence, it would amplify it, making her one of the most powerful young alphas in history." She smiled, and it was sharp as a blade. "That's what you were really afraid of. Not that I'd use it to save her, that I'd create something you couldn't control." The witch moved then, faster than humanly possible, her hands crackling with black energy. "Enough talk. The child dies, the power is mine, and you—" Damien and Alara struck simultaneously. They didn't need to coordinate, didn't need to plan. The Luna bond made them extensions of each other. As Damien shifted, his massive black wolf form lunging for Cain, Alara's silver-white wolf intercepted the witch's spell. The blood magic shattered against the Luna bond's protection like glass against steel. Cain met Damien's charge with a shift of his own, his triple alpha power making him larger, stronger than any normal wolf. They collided with bone-shaking force, tumbling across the chamber floor in a tangle of fangs and claws. But Damien wasn't fighting alone anymore. Through the Luna bond he felt Alara's strength flowing into him, her battle experience guiding his strikes. And more than that, he felt her hope, her absolute conviction that they would win because they had to, because Arya needed them. Alara circled the witch, dodging spells that would have killed her instantly before the Luna bond. Each blast of blood magic dissipated against the protective aura surrounding her. She was buying time, Damien realized, waiting for the perfect opening. Cain's jaws snapped inches from Damien's throat. "You can't beat me. I have the power of 3 packs, and I have something you never will," Damien snarled, his voice carrying despite his wolf form. "A reason to fight that's bigger than myself." He thought of Arya lying helpless behind him. He thought of his first mate sacrificing herself to buy their daughter time. He thought of Alara, who'd spent 6 years running and hiding but had walked into danger anyway because a child called for help. Love. That was the difference. Cain fought for power, Damien fought for love. The Luna marks on both his and Alara's forms blazed brilliant white, and suddenly Damien understood what his first mate had tried to do. She hadn't just been breaking a curse, she'd been creating a bridge, a way for the next Luna to complete what she'd started. "Alara," he called, "the counter curse, now!" Alara shifted to human form, her hands already moving through complex patterns. She spoke words in the old language, the one wolves used before humans taught them to talk. Blood welled from her palms, freely given, not taken, and she pressed them to the chamber floor. Light exploded upward, pure and white and devastating to anything born of dark magic. The witch screamed as the spell hit her, centuries of blood magic unraveling in seconds. Cain howled in fury as the power he'd stolen from Alara's packs was ripped away, leaving him as just an ordinary alpha. And Arya gasped awake, her silver eyes blazing with life as the death curse shattered and reformed into its opposite. The darkest hour had passed. Now came the reckoning. The transformation was immediate and total. Arya sat up, her silver eyes blazing with a light that hadn't been there before. The death curse hadn't just been broken, it had been inverted, just as Alara had said. 3 years of suppressed alpha essence flooded through the child in a torrent of pure power. "Mommy, Daddy!" Arya's voice rang clear and strong, no longer weak or hesitant. She looked between Damien and Alara with joy so profound it brought tears to both their eyes, but there was no time for reunion. The witch was screaming, her ancient body crumbling as centuries of stolen life force unraveled. Black smoke poured from her mouth, her eyes, her very pores as the blood magic that had sustained her was ripped away by the counter-curse's purifying light. Cain staggered to his feet, his wolf form shrinking as the triple alpha power abandoned him. He shifted back to human, naked and vulnerable for the first time in 6 years. "No," he gasped, reaching toward the witch. "Give it back, you promised me." "I promised you nothing," the witch rasped, her voice deteriorating. "You were always just a tool, a means to acquire true alpha essence." Her blackened eyes fixed on Arya with hungry desperation. "The child, so much power. If I can just—" She lunged faster than her crumbling form should have allowed, clawed hands reaching for Arya. Alara moved like lightning, her silver-white wolf form intercepting the witch mid-leap. They crashed together, rolling across the chamber floor. The witch's touch burned. Damien could see Alara's fur smoking where those skeletal fingers made contact, but Alara didn't let go. Through the Luna bond he felt her determination, her absolute refusal to let another child suffer. "Damien!" Marcus's voice echoed from the tunnel entrance. "The rogues are breaking through!" The sound of snarling and fighting grew closer. Cain's reinforcements were overwhelming the warriors outside, drawn by their master's desperation and the witch's failing magic. Damien made a split-second decision. He shifted, grabbed Arya gently by the scruff, the way wolves carried their young, and ran to Marcus. "Take her," he commanded, carefully transferring his daughter to his beta. "Get her out of here, full retreat." "That's an order." "Sir, I can't leave you." "You can and you will. My Luna needs me." The title felt right, natural. "Go." Marcus hesitated only a second before obeying, shifting with Arya secured in his jaws. The sound of their retreat faded quickly, and Damien turned back to the battle that would decide everything. The witch had gained the upper hand through sheer desperation. She'd pinned Alara against the chamber wall, her dissolving hands wrapped around Alara's throat. But the Luna bond made them stronger together than apart, and with Arya safe, Damien felt that power fully unleashed. He didn't shift this time. Instead, he spoke a word in the old language, the one his mother had taught him, passed down through 12 generations of Alpha Kings. A word of command that compelled obedience from any wolf who heard it. "Kneel." The Alpha command rolled through the chamber with the force of a physical blow. Cain dropped to his knees immediately, his weakened state unable to resist. Even the witch flinched, though her ancient magic protected her from the worst of it. But it gave Alara the opening she needed. She twisted, breaking the witch's grip, and her jaws found the creature's throat. Not to kill, wolves didn't kill that way, didn't make it quick and clean for enemies who tortured children. Alara ripped out the witch's voice box. The creature fell back, black blood pouring from the wound. She tried to speak, tried to cast one final spell, but without her voice, the blood magic had no anchor. Her body began to disintegrate in earnest, flesh sloughing off bones that turned to dust that scattered to nothing. 300 years of stolen life, gone in 30 seconds. Alara shifted back to human form, her body covered in burns and cuts, but her eyes blazing with triumph. Through the Luna bond, Damien felt her grief, her catharsis. She'd finally avenged her daughter, she'd finally stopped running. Cain remained on his knees, staring at the spot where the witch had died. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. She promised me I would be the most powerful alpha in history. She promised me kingdoms, territories, endless strength. He laughed bitterly. I killed my own niece for that promise. I destroyed my sister's life, and for what? To watch her die on a dirty chamber floor. You destroyed yourself, Alara said quietly, walking toward him. The moment you chose power over family, you lost everything that mattered. And what do you have? Cain looked up at her, and for the first time, Damien saw genuine emotion in the exile's eyes. Regret, a second-chance mate who barely knows you? A child who isn't yours? The scraps of a life you'll never get back? Alara smiled, and it was the most genuine expression Damien had seen from her. I have everything that matters. A mate who chose me, a daughter who called me mommy, a future I thought was lost forever. She crouched down to Cain's level. And I have the one thing you never will. I have peace. Cain closed his eyes. Then kill me. Make it quick, no. The word came from Damien. He stepped forward, his alpha presence filling the chamber. Execution is the king's justice, not yours. He looked at his mate, his, Luna, and through their bond shared his intention. She nodded understanding. Cain Ashford, Damien said formally, you are hereby banished from the northern territories and all allied pacts. Your wolf spirit is bound. You will live as human for the remainder of your days, powerless and alone. You will carry the scent of exile so that any wolf who encounters you will know your crimes. And you will live with the knowledge that the sister you tried to destroy found happiness despite everything you did to her. The binding was ancient magic, older than the witch's blood rituals. It required the combined power of two alphas to enact. And through the Luna bond, Damien and Alara wove it together effortlessly. They spoke the words in unison, their voices harmonizing in the old language. Cain screamed as his wolf was ripped away, the most fundamental part of his identity severed. When it was done, he was just a man, middle-aged, scarred, powerless. The scent of exile clung to him like rot. Go, Alara said softly, and pray we never meet again. Cain stumbled to his feet and ran, disappearing into the tunnels. They let him go. Death would have been mercy. This was justice. The sounds of fighting had stopped. Damien and Alara emerged from the mine to find Marcus and the warriors standing victorious. The rogues had scattered when their alpha's power vanished, many already fleeing into the forest. And in Marcus's arms, Arya squirmed with impatience. Mommy! Daddy! She called, reaching for them. Damien caught his daughter as she leaped from Marcus's grip, and Alara wrapped her arms around them both. For a moment, they just stood there. A family forged in crisis, blessed by the moon goddess, and stronger for everything they'd endured. Is it over? Arya asked, her small hands touching both their faces. Are we safe now? Damien looked at Alara, felt the Luna bond thrumming between them, and smiled. Yes, little one, we're safe, we're together. And we're never letting go. Through the Luna bond he felt Alara's response. Not words but a feeling of absolute belonging. She'd spent 6 years lost, and now she'd finally found home. In the arms of an alpha king, and the child who'd called her mommy. 3 months later, the Northern Territory had never seen a Luna ceremony quite like this one. Traditionally, a new Luna was presented to the pack in a quiet, formal affair. Solemn words, ancient rituals, polite applause. But when the pack had learned that their Alpha King's mate had saved Princess Arya's life, had defeated a centuries-old witch, and had banished a rogue alpha using nothing but courage and love, They'd demanded a celebration worthy of legends. So Damien had given them one. The palace gardens overflowed with wolves from every allied territory. Banners in silver and black, the colors of the royal house and Alara's former Red Dawn pack, streamed from every tree. Music filled the air, and tables groaned under the weight of food prepared by dozens of pack members eager to contribute. At the center of it all, Arya danced with abandon, her silver eyes bright with joy as she twirled from one adoring pack member to another. The death curse's reversal had given her not just life but vitality beyond her years. The healers said she would grow to be one of the most powerful alphas the Northern Territories had ever seen. But right now, she was just a little girl who'd learned to speak, and she wouldn't stop talking. And then Mommy bit the bad witch. Arya was telling a circle of enraptured children. And Daddy said the magic words. And the witch went poof. She threw her hands up dramatically, sending the other children into gales of laughter. Alara watched from the dais, her hand clasped in Damien's, the Luna crown resting on her head feeling less foreign with each passing day. The burns from the witch's touch had healed, leaving only faint scars that matched the ritual marks she'd earned commanding 3 packs. Battle scars, Damien called them. Proof of survival. She's going to tell that story until she's an old wolf, Marcus observed from his position beside the throne. The beta had taken to Alara immediately, recognizing in her the same protective fierceness he valued in his alpha king. Let her, Alara said softly. I spent 6 years running from my story. It's time someone celebrated it instead. The allied packs are pleased, Counselor Maria reported, her earlier suspicion replaced by grudging respect. Luna Alara's reputation has spread. They're calling her the Silver Warrior, the Witch Slayer, the mother who conquered death for her daughter. She's not her daughter, Damien corrected gently. Arya is our daughter, by law, by love, and by the moon goddess's design. Through the Luna bond he felt Alara's gratitude and wonder. She'd lost everything 6 years ago, and had spent so long believing she would never have a family again. Now she had not just a mate and child, but an entire territory that had embraced her as their Luna. Your Majesty, a messenger approached, bowing low. News from the southern borders. Cain Ashford was spotted 3 days ago, living as a vagrant in human settlements. He tried to enter wolf territory and was turned away. The exile sent is holding good. Alara's voice carried no triumph, only quiet satisfaction. He'll live the rest of his days knowing what he lost. That's justice enough. The messenger hesitated. There's more. Some of the rogues who survived the battle at the mines have requested asylum. They say they were coerced by Cain, that they want to swear fealty to the Northern Territory and start fresh. Damien looked at his Luna. This was her choice as much as his. Through the bond he felt her considering, weighing mercy against caution. Interview them individually, Alara decided. Those who show genuine remorse and pass the truth tests can be accepted as subordinates. They'll work their way up from the bottom, earn their place like anyone else. But they get one chance. One. It was a Luna's mercy, firm but fair. The kind of leadership that would define her reign. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Damien stood and raised his hand. The celebration quieted immediately, hundreds of wolves turning to face their king. 3 months ago, Damien said, his voice carrying across the gardens. I was a father watching his daughter die, a king facing an impossible choice, a widower who thought he'd never love again. He looked down at Alara, and the Luna bond thrummed with everything they'd survived together. Then a stranger walked into my territory and changed everything. Alara stood beside him, and Arya bounded up to take both their hands. The moon goddess works in mysterious ways, Damien continued. She took my first mate but gave me the strength to honor her sacrifice. She cursed my daughter but gave us the means to break that curse and make her stronger. She sent me a Luna, who had every reason to stay broken but chose instead to be brave. He lifted Alara's hand, displaying the Luna mark that matched his own. I present to you Luna Alara Cross, Silver Warrior, Witch Slayer, and the heart of this family. The roar that went up from the assembled wolves could be heard for miles. They howled their approval, their loyalty, their joy at a happy ending that had seemed impossible just months before. Arya tugged on both their hands. "Can I howl too?" "Of course, little one," Alara said, kneeling down. "You're part of this family. You can do anything we can do." So they howled together, Alpha King, Luna and Princess, their voices rising to the moon that watched over all wolves, a family forged in darkness but claimed by light. A love story written in sacrifice and sealed with courage. And in the palace behind them, workers were already preparing a nursery. Because the Luna bond had brought more than just healing. It had brought hope for the future. For siblings, for Arya. For a dynasty built not on power, but on the kind of love that conquered death itself. The Alpha King's mute daughter had spoken her first word and claimed her mother. Now that mother stood as Luna, and the Northern Territory had never been stronger. Some stories end in tragedy. This one ended in family. And that made all the difference. What part of this journey touched your heart the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear which moment resonated with you.